when you are taking a break, just walk around and have yourself recharged and come back in high energy. So at this point, I would like to invite Miss Janet Gobalo, the Executive Director of Christian Aid, to begin makofi. Let's appreciate Janet as akichukua kiti yake pale kama the moderator of the day. Let's appreciate Janet. She is the Executive Director, Christian Aid. Then of course I will invite Honorable Kevin Mahelo. Mheshimiwa, that's an MCA. Let's appreciate him. Kakamega County Assembly and Chief Whip, Kenya Young Members of County Assembly. Wale wanataka kuwa Members of County Assembly, kuna association ya Members of County Assembly wadogo. Wale ambao wako chini ya miaka ngapi? 35. Yani Gen Z ya county. Kuingia MCA, kuna hiyo slot. And then we'll invite Marjorie Githure. I hope I'm pronouncing it well. Let's appreciate her. Tumpigeni makofi hadi afike. Wewe piga tu makofi. Ile siku tunakuinvite hapa, utapigiwa makofi. She is the head of programs, Uraya Trust. And then of course we'll get the presence of Francis Namunjo. Francis Namunjo. Let's appreciate Francis, CEO of CEDC and Regional Coordinator, Lake Region Budget Hub. Thank you, my brother. Mr. Evans Kibet. Tumpigeni makofi Evans Kibet. Evans Kibet is the Regional Coordinator, Rift Valley Region Budget Hub. And finally, we'll have Frederick Mainda. Let's appreciate Frederick Mainda, Senior Education Officer, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. Hawa ndio watu wanadili na ile mambo yanatusumbua. So I believe at the end of the day we are going to dissect and discuss and get to find solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, in this panel we are going to discuss topic: breaking the silos for accountability, bridging gaps in budget oversight and accountability for inclusive governance. And you can see we have each and every person here. We have the students, we have the civil society, we have the political class, and we have key stakeholders in regards to budget, public finance management. At this point, Ms. Janet, I would like to hand over to you so that we get to understand what's happening.
All right, thank you, Ken Babu. And thank you everyone for coming for our session today. Ken, just allow me also to say that we have a colleague from the United Kingdom, UK, from Christian Aid UK also with us. So it's a panel. It's also a good panel. So welcome Samuel to the Public Finance Village in Kenya. This is how we want to engage with public finance. For our panelists, welcome. Let's have this session. And for everyone with us, let's enjoy. Please, let's be interactive as we go ahead. So as you've heard, this session is about accountability, how we as citizens of this country, from all the way from budget making process, how we can get involved. We have a very rich panelist to take us through that. And as you're aware that accountability is at the heart of Kenyan development, and both revenue that has been mobilized in this country or any loan that is taken is all within public debt, and we as citizens have a duty and a responsibility to work on that. So in light of this, so in today's panel, we want to look at how we can strengthen accountability, transparency, oversight in the entire budget making process. I know you've seen the boxes here in front of us. It's all the way from public participation to the actual implementation of the budgets and how we can work around that. And what we are saying is that at the heart of all the responsibility of the accountability is citizen participation. And we are saying citizen participation protests, whether it is priority setting, setting the demand, setting the the course of discussion is upon us. So today we'll have a rich discussion with all our panelists here, looking at what happens during budget formulation, what's the need for us from the students themselves and also from the citizen, what happens during budget approval process, who is involved in the process, the assembly, the county assemblies, and we have everybody here with us today to take us through that. And also looking at the issues of budget implementation, what is required, and the slow implementation on capital projects. What are those about? Budget financing versus actual performance. Who is accountable for that and who is checking who around that? We also want to look at pending bills. I know at county level there are quite a number of pending bills. What happens around that? Issues of public debt management. Who is involved in all that? So I'll just invite our panelists today to take us through that discussion. And at the end of the day, we want to look at how the budget cycle, the accountability has been done, the issues of own source revenue and what happens around that. And we'll have a good discussion. So I'll start with our first panel for the day. Maybe we can just do a quick round of introduction. Tell us more from what is already has been said, and just a quick introduction before we go to the main issues. We can start from the end with Marjorie.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Marjorie Gidure, and I work for Uraia Trust. Uraia Trust began as the National Civic Education Program, and its mandate and responsibility is to inform, engage, and empower Kenyan citizens in order for them to realize their constitutional aspirations. We use the Bible of Kenya, which is the Constitution, to guide each and every of our processes, work, and activities. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Welcome, Marjorie. Let's clap for her.
Good morning. My name is Namuju Francis. I work for Community Empowerment and Development Center. At the same time, I coordinate the Lake Region Budget Hub. Our work revolves around budget advocacy, mainly to educate, empower, and inform citizens in order to engage with duty bearers around budget work, social accountability, civic education, and we work in partnership with Budget Hub, Uraia Trust, among other partners. And also we look at how we utilize budget reports, especially the control of budget reports and OAG, to evaluate and look at the trend analysis and how to engage and inform citizens to participate and look at how value for money is realized by citizens. Asante.
All right, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Evans Kibet is my name, working with the Center for Enhancing Democracy and Good Governance as a programs officer. At ZGG, we build the capacities of marginalized and vulnerable communities to demand and exercise their rights, especially towards sustainable development. I also coordinate the Rift Valley Budget Hub, which brings together budget facilitators and budget champions from about 10 counties, in the especially in the North Rift and Central Rift region of this country. And the hub basically is a platform for building synergy, building capacities, and joint advocacy on issues of budget for better service delivery and livelihoods. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Welcome, Kibet.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Frederick Mainda, a senior officer, education and public awareness with the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, where the mandate of the commission is to combat and prevent corruption, economic crimes, and also unethical conduct through law enforcement, prevention, public education and awareness, and also promoting ethical standards. and
Okay.
practices. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. My name is Kevin Mahelo. Currently a member representing Butali Chegula Ward in Malava Sub-County, Kakamega County. I'm doing my second term as an elected MCA. I'm also the Chief Whip for Kenya Young Members of County Assembly Forum and the Chairman for Public Accounts Committee in Kakamega County Assembly. So as the Chairman of PAC Committee, we work closely with the Office of the Auditor General and the National Senate Public Accounts Committee in oversighting budget and expenditure. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's clap for the panel as we engage them. So let's start with our honorable member of the MCA, Honorable Kevin Mahelo. And I'm glad you're here with us today because as a chief whip, that is, where the crux of the matter starts in budget process. So from your experience as the leading oversight within the county assembly, how can legislator move beyond traditional review of the audit reports, but to proactively collaborate with the citizens, the civil society, the public in issues of the budget and implementation process? I know we have the budget hubs in your county. We have budget hubs around the country. How, as you engaging them with issues of pending bills, budget formulation, budget implementation, and all that? And if you are not doing that, how do you propose that it should be done?
Thank you. As it stands, the audit committees are more of post-mortem. The county does the budget, spends the money, the auditor establishes on how they've spent the money, and then the committees of PAC will come in. But currently, as Kakamega County Assembly PAC Committee, we've tried to go beyond now the post-mortem. We work first hand in hand with the Finance Committee, because Finance Committee deals with the current issues. Those are the quarterly reports. So we'll always work with them closely while they're working on the quarterly reports, so that some of the issues before coming to the auditing level can be addressed. Secondly, in our interrogations, we've always extended invitation to CSOs and members of the public, so they can also help to oversight, because our interrogations are done on papers, but there are people who are on ground. Because if you said a certain project, let me say Buhungu, on paper Buhungu will be said it is 70% done, but members of the public who will always walk in Buhungu, then we'll have something to say. So we've gone ahead and tried to make the audit to be as more current as possible, though the law as it states, audit committees should be doing the postmortem.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, those are some of the things we are saying. Traditionally, yes, there's way that can be done, but if we can use, existing frameworks to do before, we get to the end of the budget process, that would be quite welcome. So thank you for sharing with us that. And now let's hear from the budget hubs themselves. First of all, as you've said, yes, there's involvement at participation, but from your, let's start with Kibet first before we go to our colleague as well. So from your experience in citizen-led oversight, what are the most effective social accountability processes that you've been doing? What have you done to break the barriers, the silos that that exist? And what's your experience working with the hubs themselves?
Thank you so much. I will start with a quote which is not very popular, that a patriot should not trust his government. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Is that true? Okay.
I can't remember. I've just paraphrased that you can't trust the government. You are the government yourself, but you can't trust the people in government 100%. So social accountability comes in to fill in that gap. as has been said, there are structures in the Constitution that provide for, official oversight, including the county assemblies, as he has mentioned, Mheshimiwa, the EACC, and the work they do around anti-corruption. We have the Office of the Auditor General. But as it is, as from practice, that is not adequate. We need the citizen voice. In fact, the best auditor of service delivery and utilization of resources are the citizens themselves. The students seated here are the people who can tell you whether, the government financing of education is actually working, and the teachers and the stakeholders around it. So when it comes to social accountability, there is no one size fit all, because this is just about accountability that is led by citizens themselves. So different circumstances call for different tools that you can use. For example, if you want to tell whether service delivery is being offered according to the standards provided for in policy, take an example of health or education. Community scorecard plays very well in terms of, or comes in very handy in terms of getting the voices of the service users in terms of satisfaction of how they are getting the services. The service providers also getting their voice in terms of how they are providing the service and the enabling environment, and also the gaps, and then creates a dialogue among these, a tripartite dialogue. The service users, the service providers, and also the policy makers, that with a view to improve the service. When we talk about hardware projects, we call them hardware projects, capital projects. We've seen social audit working very well, where citizens, track these budgets from the way how much is allocated. Then they ask questions in a public meeting. How much was allocated? How much has been spent? This was the standard that was supposed to be applied. If it's construction of a classroom, there are policy standards that are provided for the size of the classroom. Can't remember it offered, but social audit provides that room for even citizens to use. Even they take a tape measure and, they're able to tell whether actually the contractor did what was supposed to be done, and they ask the questions. They also seek to ask or to push for more transparency through social audit, because they ask questions about access to information. We have very many capital projects with project management committees, both national government finance and also county government finance. But these committees even don't know their roles. They don't have access to documents. Someone is a chair of an ECD classroom project, but he doesn't have the bills of quantity. How is he supposed to oversight? So social audit comes in to fill in that gap. If you're talking about funds, for example, specific funds, take an example of bursary, which has multi-layered structure for decision making. We've applied public expenditure tracking to see how money is flowing right from the source to the beneficiary, and the findings are sometimes very interesting. It's just that's usually depicted in a cartoon. Money comes in very huge, you hear billions, but when it gets to the actual beneficiary, the student, the money has really reduced, and sometimes even there are issues of bureaucracies that make it very difficult for even the service provider to provide that service. Capitation, for example. You had every year, every term, the education managers complaining, the institutional managers complaining that this money does not come in good time, and therefore services are affected. So, and you don't need to apply on, you can use a hybrid. Most important is that the voice of citizens is heard, and they are able to demand for accountability.
All right, thank you for sharing that, and we'll come back to you for you've seen results from that. Let's also now hear from the Lake Region experience, but also real life examples that in the process.
Thank you so much. What we've done where I come from in Busia and largely the Lake Region counties, one of the approaches that we've done is building capacities of communities to understand why those projects were initiated in their areas. then enabling them to identify the gaps that were realized during implementation of these projects through civic education processes, then building their capacities to do evaluation of these projects. And what has really worked for us is bringing duty bearers to the sites where projects were initiated, then where they can engage with the duty bearers who are the users of these projects. And this has really worked for us. Case example is, let me give a Dungos dispensary, which a project was done in 2021. It was done to roofing, then reading the document, it was a complete project. So what we did was to go and have community meetings to identify who were the community members who participated in the site handover of the site during the construction project. The members of the communities who were in the project management committees. Then who was the contractor, right? So that he explains to us why he was not paid, and he gave us a whole story why his file was always not honored, and some of the issues that the file was not honored, he was not able to give a kickback. So through those forums, community engagement forums, we were able to bring these duty bearers on board. The communities engaged with them directly. And then through that effort, the contractor was paid. Then he resumed his work. And as we talk now, the project is complete. What is awaiting is equipping of this project and then operationalization. So what we've realized is that duty bearers like sitting in the offices. Then when construction is done, is only a public works officer who visits the sites, who is the project manager. So what happens on the ground is the contractor and the project manager who qualify the report for payment, the projects for payment, and if the kickbacks have not been paid, then the file is not honored at the right time. So how it has worked for us is identification of the projects, building capacities of the community agencies, then identifying when do we hold these forums at the site. And this has proved to be very fruitful in our site, in the areas that we work. And we've seen a number of these projects completed and operationalized. Then what we've also done is access to information. A case in example in Kisumu County, where one of us, our budget facilitator, took the government to court for the release of documents, and the court pronouncement was that all the documents were released and uploaded on the website. So this in our counties, in our areas, has really worked. Another case example is Igula Dispensary, which was completed in 2016. And then this project is a dispensary, then the project was abandoned. And then we used to see this project, this house. Then we started making jokes. Can somebody occupy this house so that... and we have a number of examples where we have had such scenarios like Kapeso Dispensary in Teso North in Busia County. When the project was completed, then the landlord decided to occupy the building because he had no house. So he decided to stay there until when the county government came to compensate him, then bring the equipment and operationalize the dispensary. So how did we manage this? Is actually building capacities of citizens. Then citizens started submitting memorandums and petitions. And again, our work is to facilitate the capacity building processes, and then enabling them write memorandums and inviting duty bearers to the site of the project. So what has really worked for us is
bringing duty bearers to the site, and citizens taking evaluation of these projects, and then identifying the gaps that continue to exist. Then lastly, what I want to say is that we've started bringing the public accounts and investment committees to do evaluations at the site of these projects, instead of just cross-examining the user department to find out if the resources were utilized well, there was efficiency, and then there's value for money. But what we've done is to bring them to the ground so that they hold those meetings. For instance, in Busia County, where they do the cross-examination, it was to take 6 months to completion, then equipping, and then operationalization. Then the user department should be able to explain to us why it has taken 2 years. Is it a budgetary issue? Is it a human resource issue? Because again, what we've come to understand is that we have a mushrooming number of facilities being put up, but they have never considered the human resource capacity to operationalize those facilities. And that's why you will find that services. So then you ask the question, at what point does sickness inform you that I'm coming, so that you inform the nurse I'm also coming to seek for services? Then lastly, we realize that there's a lot of mental challenges or mental health for especially. We find that at the end of the day, this person is burnout. So wewe ukienda kama umechelewa, you will not be handled the way you expect. And for instance, Francis likes asking all the questions pertaining my health. And why you are even prescribing to me 2 times 3, and then another drug 2 times 2. Then our practice is that 2 times 3 means 6 in the morning, lunch time, then during supper time or dinner time, that's when we take our drugs. But I went further to ask, and it was calculated to me that is after every, if it's 2 times 3, and a day has 24 hours, then you divide 24 hours by 3. Then you get that after every hour, 8 hours, that's when you are supposed to take that drug.
Thank you for sharing, those real life experiences. We'll be taking questions from the audience in a few minutes, so please continue taking notes. But if you have some ideas, we can place them on the sticky notes. Before we go to EACC, let's hear from Uraia Trusts. Marjorie, Uraia has been working in this space for a very long time. I know you've done some work, including some litigation cases and all that. But as on behalf of civil society, what are the innovative approaches we can work on the areas of public finance, ensuring that throughout the entire budget making process, implementation, issues of pending bills, what do you think should be done differently?
Thank you. That's a loaded question. And first of all, I'd like to put a disclaimer out there. I do not speak on behalf of the civil society. And also to clarify that Uraia Trust is a facilitating organization. That our core business is to support other organizations, implementing partners, as I have some of my colleagues here with us, to really conduct the work. And in the space of public finance management, it goes back to our core business, which is civic education. And our business is to ensure our Kenyans informed, our Kenyans empowered, and with this information that they receive, are they engaged? Are they able to engage? And when you look at the equation of governance, it has 2 sides. And this side also has the side of duty bearers on Arm A, and it has the sides of citizens on Arm B. With duty bearers, I think my colleagues have really spoken about the interventions that are there. How could those situations and those places also have a space for co-creation, putting into consideration the lived experiences of actually the community members? If you're working in a dispensary, Is it the human resource issue? Is it the medical inputs issues? Is it the type of procedures or first aid service that you need to receive in that particular area, and are they aware of that? The awareness part. On the second side of the equation and the balance of governance, where I know my colleague Evans alluded to it, one of the critical aspects that citizens can do in terms of oversight is in their social accountability work and in terms of their scorecards. Then how are we able to even have innovative approaches? I'd like to speak about a case example of Nyeri County, for instance. In Nyeri County, they realized there's a challenge within public participation. Okay, we have sorted the public participation. We have ensured, one, it is communicated in time. It is held in opportune times, where you find marginalized communities or marginalized groups, for instance, women and persons of disability, do not have, in some times, in some cases, and in some counties, it is performative, where it is just ticking a legal box to ensure that, you know what, we did public participation. But we have ensured it is in the evening, it is near the coffee plantations, and then the process has started. When the process starts, and there is a road that has been commissioned, for instance, as an example, they realize, this road is not reaching the kilometers that it's supposed to reach. The contractor was given a piece of work, and it's not reaching the kilometers. One of the critical ways in terms of involving citizens was to involve the boda groups. And they educated them through the civic educators, and I can see a lot of Raya civic educators who have a footprint in all 47 counties in this tent. And they innovated a way of engaging the boda riders in their associations through sustained civic education. And this led to a transformative approach that when somebody is picking somebody from point A to point B, they remembered that this contractor was supposed to do 10 kilometers of road. And then you look on your, and then you see, the road is 8 kilometers. So in section A, 2 kilometers is missing. In section B, 3 kilometers is missing. This led to more civic actions, letters and petitions, and saying, no, we actually demand accountability in this process. And we demand and we bring it back on board. The other aspect is in terms of leveraging social media, multiple media platforms. In various spaces, community radio is being seen as a voice of reason and as a voice of force. And this now goes back to also translation. Sometimes we speak to ourselves. If you look at these documents here, CBROP, ADP, CIDP, if the County Integrated Development Plan is not translated in a language that it is understood, it means you are missing out a large population. So what is the space of using technology, using translations, having inclusion in the space? So that's another strategy that can be used. During the what has been dubbed as the Gen Z protests, scripts were made and translated into various dialects in various sections, right? So what is important in a particular community can be translated in that idea. Using a gender lens and an intersectional framework in looking at the inputs that really mind, that really change and bring transformation is one of the critical aspects. Having multi-stakeholder alliances, and not just alliances for the sake of alliances that are accountable and measurable. In Raya Trust, our M&D lead who is here always says, in God we trust, but everyone else must bring data. So we can put our faith in God, but when we are talking about data, where is the data? Where is the gender disaggregated data? Because one of the critical things is, are we actually meeting people at their need and in the most time of need? The other aspect, I would want to use Kericho County as an example. In terms of allyship, what other strategies are we going to use in policy advocacy? One of the critical elements that I have seen the female MCAs in Kericho County use is policy buddyship. That each female MCA in Kericho County has identified another male MCA. And in terms of that is their gender responsive approach. We need this gender responsive bill to pass, be accountable for. Who is going to be my ally and who is going to be the champion? Because the policy making level ensures that the equation of governance is also balanced. Thank you. I can.
Very innovative ideas, and I like them. Thank you for sharing. So let's go now to from ESCC.
To us through various channels, so that we can get information of any malpractices or corruption. We give a chance to the citizens to give us information on any corruption which in place and who is involved. We also support institutions, including county assemblies, the county executive, even the national government, and even the private sector. How do we support them in terms of prevention of corruption? We support them by carrying out what we call system review. System review is where we identify or we carry out an analysis of the loopholes and weaknesses. May it be in the budget making process or in any other process like procurement of goods and services, employment, where we identify a gap from the county assembly oversight committees. Once we receive those reports, even the Auditor General, the control budget, we disrupt. If there is any corruption which is being planned, we come in to disrupt. And I'll be giving you some of the statistics in terms of figures of amounts of money we have been able to save by disrupting. How do we disrupt? We come in and ask even Public Investment Committee, the county assembly committees, and even the wananchi who report to us. We come in and investigate with an aim of taking those who are responsible to court for them to be prosecuted. So those are the areas we come in to ensure that public resources are safeguarded. And as we proceed, I'll be able to give statistics of the resources we have been able.
Okay,
yes.
we are let's allow him to finish his submission.
We have plenary for questions.
Yeah, we have
finally, we do asset tracing and recovery. Those who embezzle our public resources, we want also to ensure that they don't enjoy those resources.
You have told us that they investigate. First, you told us about your mandate, which is to combat and prevent corruption and unethical practices in the government. But seemingly, we don't see that. Please provide us with case studies where we have actually seen that corruption has stopped through this ESCC thing. You came here. Oh yeah, let me see. Yes. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, you've told us that you do your investigation, you gather data. Then what do you do with that data? We are still witnessing corruption. Our own president is a corrupt person. As ESCC, what are you doing? As students, we are scared. And let me give you one quote. Yeah, the fourth panelist came and told us that a patriot should not trust his government, right? And as the young leaders, what you're coming here to tell you is that we are not waiting for you to set our table. We are coming with our own table. We are coming with our own rights, because if you cannot represent us up there, we'll not wait for you to represent us, yet you don't even understand us in the first place. Thank you very much.
I hope we are noting the questions.
Yeah, we're noting the questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. My name is Nelson Maina from Nyeri County, Coordinator, NEC Region Budget Hub. My question straight to Honorable. So I've downloaded the audit report for your county. And so what usually bothers me with PAC is the repetitive nature of some of the queries that they raise. So as PAC in your county, what have you done in terms of what they are calling delayed and stalled projects and other issues that keep recurring? Thanks.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm Kerubo Yunke, representing the Lake Region AB. My question goes directly to the ACC. There's these diverted roles in our counties, whereby you get that the county assembly, they are the one who are implementing projects, where you get that it is very difficult for the citizen to account for projects because there are diverted roles. Now, how do you come in when there is a diverted roles in our counties, because we can't make an oversight role? Another issue is about the capital project, the mega projects. In our county, that is the source of corruption in our counties. How do you come in this mega project? Because every year, even every year, in, year out, you get that there's complaints about these capital projects, but nothing is being done. Still, money are being allocated every financial year for those capital projects. Thank you.
Good morning, all. My name is Mibei. I represent Bunge la Mwananchi. And now, mine is to EACC. This is the elephant in the house. For Kenya to reach where we are today, it's the failure of the EACC. Because if EACC could have been doing their mandate properly, Kenya could be Singapore. But you allow, because if you can detect before it happens, then how did it happen? Under your watch, because you have all the machineries to detect. You see, there is a corruption that is being planned, because all corruption are planned, and you have all the machineries to detect planned corruption. Then you allow it because you know this is, the problem. You are not independent. The EACC are not independent. Why am I saying this? Because you are appointed by executive, and the executive are the one doing the corruption. So what do? You close your eyes because you don't want to lose your job, and open your wallet. Thank you.
Morning. Yeah, so my name is Violet Mbiti from the Nairobi Eastern Central Budget Hub. So I have a question for Honorable Kevin from Kakamega County Public Park. So what are the primary challenges are you facing in ensuring effective budget oversight? Thank you.
You have a lot of audacity to come and sit on a panel here, Mr. EACC, and then sit and tell us all of the things you do and your mandate, and you're very good at telling lies. I came specifically to hear from you, actually. I think EACC is completely irrelevant and completely ineffective, and it's very shameful. To come and tell us your mandate is to combat and prevent corruption is basically to come and just tell us you all completely fail. You completely fail us. Not only do you not prevent or foresee or act upon, even when information is fed to you, it goes nowhere. We're looking at trillions of shillings. We're looking at billions. We're looking at millions. Every Auditor General report. That's when information is fed. Hata hamuna haja kufanya chochote, munapewa haya, hundreds of millions here, hundreds of millions here. So EACC is effectively completely either incompetent, completely corrupt yourself, has zero ethics, lacks any ethics, and is a big part of the problem. So we have young minds here, we have old minds, but it's time to stop telling lies and actually embrace dialogue and be able to be true. So my question for you is not, what is the one case of, this governor hapa, huyo hapo. Every single governor, every politician has immense cases. They should be imprisoned. They should be imprisoned. That's what rule of law exists for, crime. So until you're willing to actually act on all of the criminal activity happening in your own office as well as the offices around us. I think the question is, how do we dissolve the EACC and reconstitute something effective? Second, I think my other point is, we're here talking about these versions of what happens. The budget comes, you get public participation, watu wanakuja, wanasema what projects they want, what doesn't work for them. But ultimately, it's all, it doesn't work like that. We get hundreds of millions allocated to whatever projects people feel they'll be able to steal the most from. We have ghost projects. They don't actually happen. In our county, we had 79 million put as uji, for nutritious porridge, as a development project. So it's nice to have this, on paper, the cycle of the budget goes like this. But ultimately, what you were telling us in your response, Paula, to the second panelist, you showed us how the funds are, how you have to follow up to the project on the ground, to the project manager, to see what was spent. So all in all it says is you completely cannot trust the government, and funds will continue to be stolen at every point possible. And ultimately, EACC and other independent bodies will never do their work. So we, the people, must continue to find alternative solutions. Sante.
I think we've taken 6 so far.
Yeah.
We'll give them time to respond, and then we take the next batch.
Yeah.
That's okay? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for all those questions. I think we can all hear the frustration of the citizens of this country, where money continues to be embezzled, and it seems that nothing is being done, yet there are systems, there are structures that have already been put in what Marjorie called the Bible or the Constitution. So let's start with EACC. You can feel the frustration of the people of Kenya, and something must be done. So what's your take on so many questions? And then we'll come to Honorable Kevin.
Thank you very much, moderator. And thank you very much, the audience. I can see the frustrations. But I want to assure you that as the commission, we are focused. And as I am going to give you some statistics, together, we are going to win this war. First, I want to dispel any fear that ensure that projects which are undertaken using public resources are undertaken in accordance with the provisions of the law, including the Procurement and Asset Disposal Act, and also the Public Financial Management Act, that the prudent use of resources is assured. Where there are any discrepancies or misappropriation or fraud or embezzlement, when we get information, we come on board to investigate and prepare files to the Director of Public Prosecutions for those carry pleas to be presented before the court of law. What I am asking from the audience, my dear audience, EACC offices and channels of reporting such kind of cases are open. Maybe at the end of this forum, we may need to interact with you and give you more information on how you can reach us in the most safest way. So once we get this information, action is usually taken. Mibay, thank you very much for your concerns. I share your sentiments that corruption is a bad thing. It is actually running down our country, and as citizens, we need to come together. Our dear audience participant, you didn't give very pertinent issues, and I want to assure you that if you have any information, please present to us, and we assure you of confidentiality, and we will take up action. I wish you give us tangible information as to the corruption which has taken place with evidence. And so I want to assure you, as a commission, we are committed to implementing our mandate. The challenge we get mostly
for follow-up, for accountability and responsiveness. There is need for open government initiatives of data. There is need for ownership. There is need for interdependence and correlation of various mandates that are there for independent organizations. There is need to create a space that is safe and a platform for feedback loops and mechanisms. There is need, finally, for civic education. Every generation that comes is a generation that has its own ethos, its own policies, its own attitudes, and its own way of life. So we need to rethink our strategies on how we conduct civic education. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Gen Z, there's your space. This is time to take it up as we engage on these issues. Thank you for that. Francis, where do we move from here? Because, you know, we can't keep talking and talking and talking, and corruption continues destroying our country. Where do we move from here?
From here, just want to say that there is hope. From here, we need to have a collaborative approach where we do not need to fear anybody, but take responsibility as a citizen. Because what we've seen is that where citizens are silent, corruption manifests. But where we've taken action, government has responded responsibly. For instance, what the lady from M-Pesa Foundation stated. Parliament was invaded, and within a very short time, renovations were done. And I want to give you also a practical example where we made a statement, and a procurement was done overnight. A site handover was done the following morning, and a project was completed within a month. And that facility was given, got a sanitation block. So what does that inform us? As much we will be able to audit and query the processes. But at the end of the day, because that facility was actually had been given a notice of closure for lack of a latrine. But when we went to the press, I received a call at 11 p.m. at night by one of the directors of the user facility or the user department. Why we went to the press, yet we are collaborators. And what I stated is that we are collaborators to ensure that citizens receive the required services. Not that we are here to compromise service delivery. So what was surprising is that a contract, an advert was done at night. The bid was done at night. The contractor was given that contract at night. In the morning, at 8 a.m., the site was being handed over. But what communities did was to monitor the project until its completion and the handover. So where the money came from at night and what happened through all those processes, and again, that is a question that we will also be asking the Auditor General, how the processes were done is actually an answer that we will want to get from the department and all the agencies that are involved. But on the other end of the communities, for us, we want to see the value for money. And lastly, what I want to conclude by saying that is that let the budgets work for us, and let budgets be responsive to the needs of communities. and let government remain open to citizens in terms of how they spend our money and how they collect these monies. Let us end corruption. And ending corruption is you and me. Asante.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Kibet, in closing.
Where
do we move from
make
here?
It brief, Kibet.
Yes. Thank you so much. I think for me, I was at this point almost, we are seeing apathy growing when it comes to issues budgets. And somebody talked about these documents we are talking about here. Understanding what is captured in these budget documents is very, very important. Just allow me 1 minute to speak about the issue of how our advocacy and public education, budget education, helps to, prevent some level of corruption. You've heard what has been christened as budgeted corruption. I would challenge each one of us, especially when we're even formulating the budget. Let's look into these documents. I know it's something we are trying to create even awareness on how do we read these documents. And Budgeti Hub and the Budget Hubs have created, tools that can help citizens scrutinize this budget document to reduce that aspect of budgeted corruption. I'll give you an example. You've seen sometimes in budget documents a project, for example, written worldwide construction of roads worldwide. What is that? That's already, we are setting aside money for someone to eat. You have seen a budget written, repair of rural water projects. That's a real, you can Google, it's there, real. Repair of rural water projects by waterworks development agencies, and is given 50 million every financial year. How are citizens, and even if they oversight institutions has to do monitoring of those projects, how would they do it with such kind of opaqueness? So we are calling for that transparency at the level of even budget formulation, so that everybody can be able to track, and all citizens can be able to track. Secondly, on issues of what we are discussing here, oversight. For me, I think we need to create a critical mass. And how do we do it? The people in this village, I think we are all speaking the same language. But we need to take these conversations to even the dining tables of households. Pale mashinani, rural areas, chini ya mti conversations, when people are taking tea in those hotels, ile hoteli za huko ushago kwetu huko, in the savannah areas, people need to have this conversation. They need to know what the Auditor General is saying about their money. Yesterday I was with some budget champions from Baringo County, and I was just telling them, let's look at what the Controller of Budget is saying. And you can't imagine the kind of anger that came out of the room when we started discussing that 39 million was spent on trips to Arusha, Singapore, USA, Turkey, and we are asking ourselves, what was the outcome? Was it even there during the program-based budget? What was the intended outcome of these visits? The Auditor General's report is out. You've said it. We need to discuss it in community radio, in social media. Let people know how our monies are being used. And I know you'll ask me to what end. 1, awareness. 2, we'll create pressure on the oversight institutions such as EACC, Auditor General to do more, including even the DPP. 3rd, that's a very important scorecard. As we are heading into election, we should make budget performance a very important tool for social vetting, so that we stop this, we stop blaming each other. We are given an opportunity every 5 years to elect an MCA we trust, an MP we trust, a governor we can trust with, and even our president. Let's scrutinize this. Let's make this information as widely available as possible as has been suggested, and so that we can have more people engaging from a point of information. I think what is out there is that people just say there is corruption or there is misuse of resources, but when you ask what exactly it is, because you cannot address what you don't know, So that's our role, and that's what we'll continue to do. As I conclude, we'll continue to, sensitize, create more budget champions, and even reach out to grassroots, even to those unreached locations, those marginalized groups. We are even talking about persons with disability, understanding how these budgets are affecting them. Thank you.
All right, allow me to close this session now because of time. The MC is on my case. We want to thank all our panelists for the discussion. They'll be here with us as we continue to the next session. Please find them. But for any questions, please bring them to the sticky notes. Let's give a clap to all our panelists today and all our audience. Thank you very much for this session.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Janet. I think we all agree that this conversation is heavy and we can't finish it here, right? So if you have, just do the writing and put it here. We can have a group photo here, the panel and the panel. We can have a group photo up at chini. In the meantime, DJ and Edmund, you can give us something soothing as we get into the next panel, please. Tupigi hapa chini. Give him your sticky notes. If you have a question related to the sticky notes, please hand it over to him. Please hand over your sticky notes. Thank you.
But I think we can allow, at least we've gotten figures of some convictions, but we are hearing a lot, and I hope can take up. So let's, we want to close this session. So Honorable Kevin, please just talk about PAC and some of the issues.
Bimaina from Nyeri. On the repetitive queries. That's true if even we, and this buhungu is told. So that's true if even we, and this buhungu is told. So it's a prosecution. And this buhungu is told. So it's prosecution of this certain individual. And we don't have those of this certain individual. And we don't have those implement. It's now the executive to implement. And of course the courts, one of those officials, now the executive to implement. And of course the courts, one of those officials will not have